All right. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode Health and Fitness podcast, joined by my good friend and business partner, Jim Brown. Jim, what's up, brother?
Not much, man. It was almost two weeks in a row, 3 weeks.
Yeah, like 3 weeks,
We're on a
dude.
roll. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're on a roll.
Yep. It's
Good.
looking good, man. I had a comment on our release because I had a release that just went out today, and somebody was like, great to see you guys again. Missing you because we had about a month break that we weren't able to go. But I, put on there that we switched around schedules, so hopefully we can start getting much more frequent with these, getting these rolling.
Yep. Yep. It's good, man. I
So
always love doing these.
yeah, no, me too, dude. So all right, man. So I know today we're gonna go deep into increasing mental focus, mental energy, our ability to go out there and think, our ability to go out there and really just, I mean, dude, like if your mental game isn't in it like on point, it's tough to go out there and perform. And this really comes about just so to give everybody that's watching, listening some context. Jim shared with me an article, and I'm not going to read the whole article here, but just to kind of summarize it, and then we can go deeper into this. But so an article, and essentially the title was "More Americans Say they are in a cognitive fog." So Census Bureau shows that more Americans say they have serious cognitive decline, and really since the pandemic, the number of working age adults that are reporting seriously difficulty thinking has spiked to over 1 million in just a short period of time. So it's just this massive rapid rise, and even post-COVID, this is just things that are taking place, but it just seems like so many people are experiencing more brain fog, difficult time thinking. Dude, I heard a stat the other day, and I went out there, and I don't know how much I can trust Google, but it seemed to come up, and I don't know how the neurologists and people fucking test this, but it was something like a goldfish attention span is 8 seconds, and like the average human beings is like, I don't know, 6 or 7. Like, but anyway, it came out. I can't remember the exact numbers, but the average human being's attention span is now less than a goldfish. Just
I'm not surprised.
yeah,
I'm not
crazy
surprised.
times, dude.
I'm not surprised. It's even hard. I catch myself when I'm watching a TV show or something, then I'm like, oh, I gotta look at my phone, or I gotta read this, or I'm like doing stuff and said, wait a minute, man, I'm taking the time to watch this show. What am I doing?
Yeah,
I'm gonna it's amazing, and I think we're all accustomed to it, especially with devices and all this stuff. And we'll talk about what the content of the article was and what they think the cause is. But man, you know, I run at capacity most days, like especially when I'm busy and there's work is popping off and I'm trying to get stuff done. The more diluted that I am, the less impact I have per day. It seems like I can do this. I can answer 20 emails. I can do this and that. But what did I really do? Well, I didn't accomplish what I was supposed to accomplish for the day. I didn't move the ball forward because I was diluted with all this shit. Or I listen. Even if I'm going from meeting to meeting and I'm listening to a podcast in between, it's hard. I get diluted. My attention span gets diluted, and I'm maybe not in the first meeting, but if meetings throughout the day, and I'm trying to listen to a podcast in between, driving around, if it's 10, 15 minutes, whatever, and then screwing around with a map and I'm trying to find this place and this and that, I get diluted. My mental energy and my focus gets diluted. And so for me, I've been kind of very careful of what all I'm throwing at myself on a day. Like I wake up and I'm like, okay, I have to do this, this, and this. This is what's going to move the ball forward. I have to be on point in this meeting. I need this quality presentation. I need to do this. When I have this conversation, I have to be on point. I'm going to do this, X, Y, and Z. And if I focus on those and kind of, not isolate myself, but I'm very very careful of how I'm throwing out my bandwidth and what I'm letting in for the day really affects how much I focus and how sharp I am in those meetings and centered and, to the point. And I think it's just a function of what we all do, this multitasking thing. You can't multitask.
yep,
You can't quality multitask for shit. You just can't do it.
yep. It's physically impossible to truly multitask. You can't. The brain cannot focus on two things at the same time. Yeah, right. Like you can't hold a conversation and then be reading at the same time. Yeah, like so. I mean, yeah, you can walk, talk, chew gum at the same time, but that I'm talking
Sure.
about cognitive. But I man, it's something that, and this is like what I'm always like. I'm very cognizant of this with my kids, where I'm like, dude, focus has now become the ultimate superpower to just go out there and fucking dominate and thrive in this life, because people, dude, are having, it's waning fast. Problems are only going to exacerbate. So it's like, okay, like I understand that my kids are going to, have an element of the online world and space and gaming and, just this virtual world that we live in. But I also make sure that they are involved in high intensity, like highly focused, intense activities, right. Where then that way it's like, they're like forcing to focus, where it's like, okay, they're having to spend hours a day just learning this note with this musical instrument, or hours a day
Yeah.
learning this coding skill, hours a day, just working on this cheer move, this stunt move,
Yeah.
so it's just like, but even in my own personal life, just like you were talking about, dude, like we've got to be intentional. And I know we're going to go into fixes of this more so too. But I mean, number one, we got to have awareness of the problem, but then from there, okay, like we can really contradict a lot of this damage that this is happening. Like just a little, like, okay, I don't allow myself to watch short form content, like all
Yep.
these fucking reels and TikToks. And now I'll go out there and create the content and put it out there and use it to grow my brand and my business. But it's like, be the drug dealer, not the drug user,
Yeah.
right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
okay, there's shit out there that we know fucks this stuff up for us. Okay, well, I can block that shit out, you know, focus on the right things. And but let's before we get into the fixes, dude, let's maybe circle back to the article.
Yeah.
What was your interpretation to, like, I mean, I know that they gave their reasons, which we can talk about, but it seemed like they isolate just one thing, but I think it's much deeper just to that one thing.
Yeah. Going into that article, they really focused on the effects of long COVID and this neurological decline that some people are experiencing, and even to the point where they're going on disability. I don't know if you read the whole thing, but when you get to the end of it, there's some people who, severely are broken. And, I have no doubt that that has something to do with, some people react that way to either having COVID, or was it the vaccine, or whatever it was. There's people who are suffering some kind of, long-term effects from that. But overall, like we were talking before we started, the effect that COVID had on people was astounding. We isolated ourselves. People were isolated. They didn't go outside. They spent more time online. They spent more time sedentary. They got more depressed. I mean, everything that you could make worse, we made worse. And a lot of people didn't recover from that, man. They just didn't ever bounce out of it, and the mental kind of decline, or the rise in depression and all that stuff that came with it. I don't think that just bounces back.
No. Yeah. And like I was telling you too, I think one of the symptoms that have come from COVID, that, and not from the pandemic itself, but from what we all experienced that time, was, a lot of people woke up and maybe saw some shit taking place that they didn't realize was taking place. And they, their framework and understanding of the world changed. So that can be a hard pill to swallow. It's kind of like when you're a kid and the first time you find out that Santa isn't real, you're like, what? I've been lied to my whole life. And then when you're like, oh, when you start to understand that the world is actually operates a lot different than maybe you were conditioned to think, okay, that could
Yeah.
be a big pill to swallow. But then from there, it's like, the first time, at least in our lifetimes, that we are now seeing, and this really came about during COVID, right? Like during that era, or during the pandemic, where, okay, now we're seeing everything starting to decline, where it's like, okay, it's the first time where people are losing hope. They're starting to see, okay, the next generation, like always before, was like, okay, your kid's generation was gonna be better than your generation. Like everything was just progress, progress, progress. Now it's like everywhere you go, dude, cities are in decline, crime is up. It's like the, people's, and whether it's at subconscious level or conscious level, but it's, okay, like, the stagflation that we're seeing, right? Like people are like, oh shit, I'm not going to make the same money that thought I was going to make, or my pay. Now, that's not necessarily true. They can, and they could turn that around. But, for most people, it's okay. Like, they're
Right.
losing that hope for the future because they're seeing shit decline, worsen, and for the first time in most. I know we had the great financial crisis, but but I think that that's a big part of it too. Definitely with the depression and the loss of desire to go out there and get shit done.
Yeah, I think COVID broke a lot of people, man, in one way or another. It really did. And it changed a lot. It changed a lot. Even, you know, even in sales, I'm still kind of old school where I'll get on a plane and fly to somewhere and get, the whole pain in the ass, get in the car, strange city, go drive and meet somebody so that we meet in person. And let me tell you, man, that's almost a superpower, dude, because there's I would say almost all of those people appreciate it, and they take time to meet you and they're impressed that you actually came to meet them. And people aren't doing that anymore. That used to be the norm. They're like, oh, I talked to this person on an email, or I keep sending them emails and they won't answer. I was like, we were trying to go talk to them. And they're like, what? It's just weird. Everything's really changed like that. Another example too, I'll go to like today I had to pick up restaurant. I had to go to a restaurant, pick up food for a meeting, and nobody's in the damn restaurant eating. It's all fucking Uber drivers or whatever that DoorDash. And it's just like, people really order food like that. I mean, rather than going to eat in a restaurant or to go pick it up, I guess, I mean, food's expensive enough. You're paying $20 to eat for one person as it is now, just for a fucking chicken salad. And then you add on, the delivery service and everything, but it's like people aren't coming back. It's weird, man. It's strange.
Yep.
Strange.
Yeah. So whether it's the shit we all experienced that broke people, during the pandemic, or if it is this, whatever the fuck long COVID is, I mean, I don't know anybody personally that got COVID that didn't, or is unvaccinated and got COVID that I know that has. And look, I know only a small few, like there's a lot of people I don't know, right? So when I say this, and my personal experience from the people that I know, conversations that I'm having is, I don't know anybody that's experienced these same neurological issues. All the stories that I've heard, or from people that I know that have, it's the ones that took the vaccine. Now, this causation is correlation, causation, no, right? But regardless of whatever the reason is, it's happening, we're experiencing it. So then from there, let's pivot into, because like, look, I always look at, shit happens. But the cool part is we got a choice to turn that shit around. We don't have to live in that situation. Yeah, right. Like just like if you're experiencing a hard financial time, okay, that happened. What's done's done. You can't go back and change that, but you can do something to turn your situation around and improve it.
Yeah, it's just like when you have a hurt. How many injuries have I had that a normal person I've heard, oh, my back hurts, or I did this and that's why I don't lift anymore. I'm just like, dude, shut up, man. You have no idea. Like the times that I've been hurt and, continue to be hurt, it's an obsession to get back. It's a whole fucking, it's like, that's the new goal. That's the obsession. And I think that, whether it's, look, I don't know what the real symptoms of this stuff is and what people experience, but for the most part, when you start to lose something, or that you can't focus the same anymore, you can change it. I mean, we know how to do it. It's just being vigilant about it, and it's wanting to have the desire to do it. It's not rocket science. We know how to do it. It's just doing it. And I don't think people have the discipline to do that. It's just like, hey, I got fat. Okay, I'm going to fat myself. Am I really? Gee, I don't know how to do it, or whatever the excuse is, and they don't do it. And I think a lot of this is the same. I don't know if somebody actually has these symptoms, and it's really something that they can't control and they can't fix, and doctors can't figure it out or whatever. But for the most part, like you said, focus is a new superpower. And I've implemented strategies that helps increase my focus, and I continue to, and it's something that I work on continuously. And I think you have to, it's just like anything else, just like working out.
Yeah, because the other thing I hear people say all the time, like all the time, dude. Yeah, right. And this is, more business meetings, with coaching clients and whatever, but but and we just hear it from common language today. But it's, people are like, oh man, my ADD, my ADD, like everybody's got,
Yeah.
acquired ADD, but again, now, and I might get heat for saying this. So I'm only speaking from personal experience, but like I've been able to control that and solve that. I used to take Adderall, but then I experienced the negative side effects of that. And I was like, okay, like this isn't like this is not good long term, right? Like,
Right.
and I won't go deep into that, but I was like, okay, like I need to find natural fixes for this. But I
Yeah.
was able to go out there and turn it around. But like you said, I mean, it takes work, and what's interesting is, so those watching and listening, Jim and I were talking about this article last week, and then it was like, okay, come up with each of our own lists of how to turn this around. Our lists are pretty much freaking identical. So
It's weird.
let's go through it, man. So, as far as, okay, what can people do, and I don't know if you want to start, if I want to start, if we just want to kind of pick
Well,
off these
there's
one-on-one.
so I'm gonna piggyback off a conversation I had with a physician today, and this guy fucking sharp, right? Number one, he's an old guy, but super passionate, super smart. And we're just talking for hours, right? And the nurse comes in and he goes, "Hey, how old do you think he is?" I'm like, "Man, 70." No, he's 84. I was like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And so she's like, "Yeah, he gets up every morning at 4 o'clock, fucking works out like it's his job, and then comes here, eats this, and this." And then he was talking to me about the correlation between heart disease and dementia. And I was thinking, and it kind of ties in, trying to tie it in here to what we're going to go over. But your health is so important, man. So if we're doing the stuff that we're going to be doing anyway, which is getting workouts in, doing our cardio, eating right, keeping low body fat, keeping our vascular system healthy, it's possible to be an 85-year-old doctor and not lose an ounce of energy or a minute or a second of mental acuity. But I thought I was just really, really impressed with this guy. And anyway, so I know that we're going to go over the same kind of things, but the core of that is keeping yourself healthy. I
Yeah.
think that's just where it starts, man, because that, eventually that's going to catch you. Whether it's a mechanical breakdown where your vascular system gets, for layman's terms, it starts to get clogged, and that's when dementia and Alzheimer's kicks in eventually, if you survive the hard part. But anyway, sorry, that was kind of a swerve there, but it starts with the health. Starts with health.
Yeah. So speaking of that, man, okay, so when you mentioned a few things there, but when it comes to health, okay, activity, right? So, and we're just talking about, for that mental focus, mental energy, memory, the ability to focus long periods of time. And look, I don't know all the, quote unquote science in the way that you do, but there's just so much knowledge and understanding now that, the level of activity and the impact that it makes from a neurological standpoint, just the eliminating free radicals and, like whatever's going on there. I know, especially with resistance training, that becomes kind of the waste, disposer of the body, so you can eliminate waste in the most efficient manner. But what are, I guess, I don't know, when it comes to working out, like what would you, or how would you put that of, because people, when they think of working out, they might think, okay, how it's going to impact their heart, maybe how it's going to impact their, physical look or whatever, but they don't always think of it as that impacts my brain.
Yeah, I think you have to do cardio. I really do, and I think that perfusion. And there's been studies, we've talked about that a long time ago, but there's that study where CEOs were doing 20 minutes or 40 minutes on the treadmill and they performed better, or something like that. But yeah, cardio increases perfusion in the brain, and I think it has profound effects. And so whether that's, you don't have to be doing hours a day, but I think you should be doing cardio every day.
Yeah.
And I do it either before or after my workout, or a combination thereof, or I just, if I'm beat up that day, I'll just go do cardio. But I think that has a profound effect. And I think if that's part of the plan and it's keeping your vascular system healthy, that's even, bonus time.
Yeah. And for me personally, and again, I don't know the fucking science behind it, but like I would rather sacrifice an hour of sleep and get a solid workout in. Like I am more mentally focused if I like sleeping 6 or 7 hours versus 7 or 8 hours, but then getting that extra hour of workout in, which is the opposite. Most people think, oh, I need that great night of sleep, which yeah, we do. Right. Sleep is important, but with that, again, I would way rather get 6.5 hours versus 8 hours and be able to get a 90-minute fucking solid workout in. Like I just perform so much better all throughout that day from a mental and physical aspect.
Oh yeah, 100%. I mean, I just, last 2 weeks I've been on the road, and every goddamn day, except the day that I catch the plane, because that's usually 4 in the morning. But I'll as soon as I get to the hotel that night, I'll at least ride the bike. The gyms in the hotels mostly suck, so it's cardio for me. But every time, man, get up early in the morning, do cardio. I perform way better all day, mentally and physically.
Yeah.
And it just works, man. It sucks to get up early, but once you get kind of used to it, and like right now, I've been, I've been the early bird, been on the early workout crew, and it just makes my whole day way better,
Yep.
way better. It's really surprised me, really has.
Yep. Yep. Those 3 a.m. workouts are my favorite, dude.
Yeah. Plus the gym's empty, so
Yeah. Well, my home
Um,
gym's always empty, but
right, right. Yeah, it,
uh,
it does.
uh,
And that doesn't have to be, you got to go to the gym, you got to do this, got to do that. I mean, it can even be, it can start out a 10-minute walk as soon as you get up. Take the dog out and do a 10-minute walk. Anything like that. It really does have a profound effect.
yeah. And then too, like if you start getting tired and mentally tired, like during like your work day or whatever, and you start feeling that, kind of just mental focus waning, whatever. Like, and I fucking do this all throughout the day, dude. Like I'll take like every 2 hours essentially. Like I'm just coming back here in my office, fucking doing planks, and not a shit ton. I mean, just like getting down the floor, fucking doing a 60-second plank, and then
Yeah.
maybe fucking 20 calf raises. Like take 2 minutes to go do that, and then all of a sudden, dude, like I got a ton of energy. My mental focus is back, and I'm ready to
Yeah.
go again.
Yeah.
So just even those little bouts throughout the day, like you do like a quick little just hack to regain that focus and regain that mental and physical energy is just pop a little 2 minute, even 2 minutes of activity. And
Yeah.
I have all my staff doing it too. It's funny because like you'll come out here like at lunch or something, and you'll see my staff doing like wall sits, and like
Yeah.
girls all be lunging up and down the hallways,
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
just like, hey guys, I buy everybody standing desks so we can rotate between standing and sitting. And
Yeah.
okay, so then from there, next on the list then is water.
Yeah, dude, that's a massive a thing. I think a lot of people are walking around dehydrated, and now you see everybody carrying around cups and all this shit, and that's great. But when I first wake up in the morning, I chug probably 20, 25 ounces just right away, and it starts the whole day better. And then by the time I'm usually done warming up on cardio, whether that's, it's usually on the bike, I got another liter in me. And then I work out. I mean, it just, all that in combination just starts the day out. And, years ago, I was telling people, the first thing to do as soon as you get up in the morning is fill up a cup, 16, 20, 32 ounces, add a little bit of salt, add a little bit of lime juice and chug it and start your day out right. And essentially that's the same thing we're doing. Now I'm adding an electrolyte product, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
And hydrating as soon as you get up in the morning is definitely a hack. I mean, it's a superpower. It really is.
Yeah. Well, and just for the electrons, like, I mean, just for the cells to fire and be able to be, I mean, like we're essentially like an electrical system, right? Like, and you got to have fucking water for that shit to go out there and operate properly, so at least for me, I have found the minimum is a half ounce of water per pound of body weight to be able to function, semi-optimally. Now, if you're active, working out a lot like you and I do, plus, busy at work, like, okay, for me, like the ideal is at least 1 ounce of water per pound of body weight per day. I know it's difficult for, some, but, when like I don't really drink anything but water, but then we're sweating a lot and shit like that. But, I find, dude, if I have less than a half ounce per pound of body weight, that's where I start to see it. Like I just start feeling like shit. My cognitive, just my focus wanes. You start getting, yeah, I mean, because I just feel myself getting dehydrated, which then impacts, cognition and everything else.
Yeah, a
Okay.
lot of times when I like I got a 3 hour drive. It's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm like, man, I really need I could use some caffeine. I'm like, wait a minute, I haven't pissed in like 3 hours. Okay, hold on. I chug a half liter of water. I'm like, oh shit, I feel fine. I'm great. And a lot of times when your body, for me, if I'm calling for caffeine, especially now because I got my caffeine intake under control, but if I'm calling for caffeine or think I need a pickup in the afternoon, it's usually because I haven't eaten enough or I'm starting to be dehydrated.
Yep. Yeah. And then, okay, you were talking about adding salt and electrolytes. So, like, I'm a big fan. I think I heard about these from you. But Element, if you guys can
Mhm.
see those. Now, this isn't, like we're not affiliates of them. So these are just clients of theirs. But man, I fucking pound like 6 of these a day. Yeah, right. And I'll just put it in my Yeti, so I, drink between 6 and 8 Yetis a day. But again, world of difference, dude. From and the way that I understand it and the way that I heard it is that, because of just the environment, the just how food's been hardened, water's been hardened, soil's different now today. It's almost like our cells have a raincoat around them. So that water comes into your system, essentially just bouncing off like the raincoat. And without those added electrolytes, used to not necessarily be necessary, maybe 200 years or 100 years, or whatever that time frame was. But now today, like those are needed at the highest level to get those cells, get that water into the cells. Like I notice when I drink this, dude, or add this, like I even have to pee less, even though I'm drinking the same amount of water, because my body's actually being able to process that water properly.
Yeah, I don't. That'd be an interesting experiment. I mean, I don't use the LMT. I use the True Nutrition one, but it's essentially, it has a high component of salt like the Element does. That's
Yep.
why I like it. I just like that it tastes better, and I'm super cheap. But uh, yeah, I like the saltier ones. Do they really, do they hydrate you better? You know, it depends. I think it really depends on what your food intake and all that is. I like the taste and I seem to hydrate faster. So I like them and use them.
Yeah.
That's why. That and a lot of people too. I don't think I salt all my food, but I still don't take in enough salt unless I'm adding it in drink. So
Well, and that's where when you turn me on to these, dude, is because I eat such a bland diet because I don't salt anything, I don't season anything, and I'm just fucking eating eggs and meat and
that's
protein
fucking
shakes
crazy,
and
man.
but
Yeah.
I started feeling like fucking again. I like, dude, I started having a difficult time thinking. It was just like, what the, well, dude, my mind's breaking, dude. Like
Yeah.
I didn't put two and two together, but you were like, dude, you need to fucking add, you're way deficient in sodium, you know?
Yeah.
So then, okay, then I was like, well, shit, I didn't realize that, and now if somebody's got, heart disease or high blood pressure, well, let me give the quick disclaimer.
We're not doctors.
Yeah, we're just two dudes talking shit on the internet. So, um, but with that, it's like, okay, like for my age, weight, health, it's like, dude, I need to be getting a minimum of 6 grams of sodium a day. So 6,000 milligrams. Optimal is really around 8,000. Well, dude, I don't know what I was getting, but it was under a gram, just naturally from food. Cause like, again, I'm eating bland foods that really don't have sodium and it was jacking me up, dude,
Well, and,
and
and I think that's a lot of people, if you're eating processed foods, you're getting a lot of salt. And it's a lot of
yeah,
salt that you probably don't fucking know about. And if you think about a product like a fucking Hot Pocket, you don't salt the Hot Pocket because it's already salted. It tastes salty. They've tuned that shit in to taste perfect. You don't usually, if you go through McDonald's and get a fry, a hot fry off the grill, they salt it. You know, Hardly ever do you say, "Oh man, I need some more salt for my salted fries," unless they forget to salt it or something. But anytime you eat processed food, there's salt in it. And when you start to clean up your diet and you go to foods like we eat for the most part, day in, day out, and you don't salt, then you're going to be deficient in salt. And so you need to add it back. That's why forever I've salted everything I ever cook and eat. And I've had every client that I've ever trained salt their food, especially, unless you're morbidly obese. Once we start to unfat you, then we start salting food again. And because you need salt, if you're an athlete, you have to have salt. And if you come off of processed foods and you don't start supplementing salt, then you're gonna notice a massive difference.
Yeah.
And it's really astounding. It's astounding how much salt you get if you're eating 3 or 4 meals and snacks, like the standard American diet. You're getting a massive amount of salt. That's why salt gets a bad name, because of all the other shit. Then you're turning into, your health is in decline anyway, and the salt's just along for the ride. But then you go to eat, plain eggs. You cook yourself an omelet. You have chicken for lunch, and a decent meal at home that you've cooked, of whole food. And even if you salt it, you're still way behind of what you're eating from the processed food. So a lot of people don't realize that, but yeah, man, salt is necessary for performance.
Yeah, and from a cognitive level, right? Like,
For
okay,
sure.
dude, like, I mean, just too, because again, these are electric impulses between, neurons, between cells. That's how they communicate. So when you are thinking, right, it's again, neurons firing, communicating with other neurons. And again, dude, I'm kind of dumb when it comes to science, but this is my understanding with it. But you need water and you need fucking salt to make that process happen and to be efficient with that process. So that's the importance of, the hydration, making sure that you're, adding salt, electrolytes, because like these have 1,000 milligrams of sodium per packet, 200 milligrams of potassium, 60 milligrams of magnesium, which those are the electrolytes like we sweat out. And if we're not replenishing those, that becomes very problematic for the body, very problematic from a cognition standpoint. Am I missing anything there? Or is my dumbed
No,
down
I mean, no, no,
explanation?
no. That's a good, yeah,
Yeah, I look
that's a
at
good
it like, okay,
explanation.
like Jim knows all the biomechanics of, okay, when you're doing a squat, every fiber it's firing, why it's effective, why it's working. Me, I just know, okay, my legs respond the best to squat, so I'm just going to do the damn squat. I don't
Yeah,
always
there you go.
understand I just do these things because they fucking make a massive difference and they work and things that I pay attention to and I feel, because I got to go out there and perform at a high level 16 to 18 hours a day. And I can't have my energy levels, my mind, like it's got to be performing at a high level. All right, so then let's talk about creatine, because I know creatine's got this name for muscle growth, bodybuilders, which is great for that too, but it's also great for the mind. And I don't think I didn't really realize that until you told me that. I just always thought it was just great for helping you build muscle.
Yeah, there's some more studies going on with that, but cognitive ability and it's really a nootropic. And I don't know if you remember, but when we were originally formulating our nootropic, that was one of the things I wanted to put in there. But then we're getting up to fucking 9 capsules for a serving size to put in everything I wanted. But creatine should be in there. I got my old man on creatine. I mean, he's 75. He's not lifting. Well, he does lift weights, but it's for the cognitive benefit. And creatine does a lot of things, and that's one of them. I just think almost everybody should be supplementing with creatine. I don't really have a reason why somebody wouldn't want to be supplementing with creatine. If you're above 40 and in your 50s, to fight muscle loss and sarcopenia and the cognitive benefits, everybody should be on creatine.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to have fancy creatine. The best creatine is the cheap monohydrate. You don't have to load it. You don't have to cycle it. You don't have to do this or take it with anything special. A small, 3 grams, which is, like a level teaspoon a day. That's all you need. You want to get crazy and take 5 grams and a heaping teaspoon? Okay, sure. Probably don't need it, but 3 grams, great. Put it in a coffee, put it in hot sauce, just get it in your body. It works.
Yeah. So my 7.5 grams I take a day is overkill.
Uh, Probably. Yeah.
Well, and it
Yeah.
just ends up being that way because I take
Yeah.
my 5 grams, but then my pre-workout also has 2.5 grams. So it just ends
Yeah.
up,
Well, and there's a whole thing there that we could dive into creatine and how much you respond, but we all hold different levels of creatine in ourselves. right? So some people, that's why some people have taken creatine. They're like, oh my God, I gained 50 pounds. There's somebody who doesn't hold creatine naturally in their cells very, very much, and or diet is super sufficient in it, or a combination of both. And then there's people who don't respond as well. Those are people who probably carry a higher level of creatine in their cells naturally, and are getting it regularly through diet. But even those, everybody can respond from creatine.
Yeah. Yep. So then, we got food. That's just kind of a given. Well, maybe people don't know that, but I would hope that that's a given,
Right.
you know?
Leaner, meaner, more muscle, healthier. I think you're moving, you're doing more things, you're probably hydrated, your brain's going to function better.
Yeah. And even when, I look at, okay, how do we gain our energy? Right. Okay. Well, we're not plants. We don't get it from photosynthesis. Yeah. Right. Okay. Break down that nutrition. It's broken down, finite level, gets absorbed in the cells, gets absorbed in the mitochondria, and that's ATP amongst other things. That's how the body creates energy. So the more cleaner and efficient the food sources, or the more cleaner the food sources, this is why I abide by, what you always advocate, and what you inform me to do is like one ingredient foods, man. Like if my great grandparents didn't eat it, I'm not fucking eating it. Yeah, right. Like
Yep.
it's if like some of the shit that people eat on a daily basis is one chemical away from being plastic. Like how does and when you're young, it's like, dude, you can just have a diet where it's just nothing but otter pops and still have
Right.
mental energy. But as I started getting older, and I know we've talked about this in the podcast, but like, dude, I had to cut out cheat days and even cheat meals. Because
Yeah.
it's like, dude, I started, having a cheat meal or two, not even a full cheat day, but I'd feel hungover, brain fog like crazy, So like now when I'm, like right now I'm trying to be in a surplus of calories to, because I'm trying to put on some muscle, um, um, during this winter season. But even with that, it's like I'm still eating the same shit.
It's just more of the same shit. Yeah.
Yeah, I just added a meal a
Right.
day, so it put me into a slight surplus versus that kind of deficit I'm normally at. Um, but then that way, okay, yeah, I'm gaining a little bit of weight, but dude, I don't feel like my energy hasn't been impacted, my
Right.
mind. But if I go eat fucking Taco Bell for a cheat meal,
Yeah.
dude, I'm fucked up for at least the first half of the day mentally. Like I just feel the difference, and it's so crazy. Like almost puts me in a food coma, and the next day I almost feel hungover.
Especially if I'm in a deficit and I'm not, my glycogen isn't full, whatever. I can handle a burger and fries pretty good. But like beyond that, there's a fucking hard line right somewhere after that where it's like, then my body does not handle it well. And the deeper the deficit, I can eat a little bit more and feel okay. But to your point, like a whole day of eating shit, yeah, it's has a massive repercussion on me, massive repercussion. One of the things that I've always said is how do you diet? What foods do you eat when you diet? Well, chicken and rice. Well, what foods do you eat when you gain muscle or you want to bulk? More chicken and rice. Well, how do you get lean then? With less chicken and rice. I mean, we eat the same foods, right? Your food choices aren't going to change. Ideally, my food choices don't change over the year. If I'm going to cut down and try to lose body fat, it's less of those same foods, man. It's not a secret. There's no secret change in foods. And that's it. This is kind of the system, we refer to it as systems, but once you have your dietary system built, you understand what foods work well in your bodies, what foods you respond well to, you can digest properly, or you're compliant with taste, you can eat them every day or whatever. That's your system, man. So you prep it, you package it. This is how much you eat a day. That's your system. And once you get that figured out, that's it. That's the secret. You just got to keep doing it.
Yeah, my wife will come to me and she'll be like, "How do you eat?" Especially because she doesn't like eggs. Like she
Yeah,
likes eggs, but like if
not 8 of them.
they're loaded on an egg McMuffin, or like
Yeah.
but yeah, she always look at me like, "How do you eat that same shit every day without throwing up?" And I'm like, but it's just that relationship. Like a lot of people look at food as pleasure. I just look at it as, dude, it's just fucking fuel. That is it.
Yeah.
It's just switching what that relationship is with it. Of this is just a necessary thing for fuel. Like I just don't allow myself to, get pleasure from it.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is that I'm just so used to these foods. I really like, when I get off of the road, I want to come back home and eat my prep food, even though I'm eating the same type of foods on the road. there's still stuff like, the other night I ordered a chicken breast with rice, and the fucking chef put some canned mushroom sauce on this rice. And I'm like, dude, what the fuck? I just wanted plain rice. He's like, nobody eats plain rice. Okay, man. But to your point, I actually enjoy the foods that I eat, the beef and peas combo, the, chicken and rice and eggs. That's what I like to eat. Whether it's conditioning or not, or whether it's, I know that's makes my body perform and feel so good. I don't know, but that's what I like to eat.
Yep. Yep. All right. So then from there, okay, we talked about sleep a little bit earlier, but obviously sleep.
Yep. Yep. Trying some new stuff for sleep, but yeah, sleep hygiene, sleep, cool room, all that stuff. I mean, there's a lot that you can kind of dial in, but and it doesn't. I'm not a prescriber of saying, like bought into the thought like everybody has to have X amount of hours of sleep. When you kind of figure that out and you come up with whatever your number is, and it's restful sleep and you perform on it and all that, that's your number. I don't think that you have to force 8 hours in or you have to force 9 hours. I mean, if you sleep soundly for 6 and you wake up and feel like a champ, that by all means, man, that's your number.
Yep. Yeah. I've read as many scientific research papers that say that 8 hours is much more harmful than 7 and 8 as I have saying that we need 8. So
Yeah.
it's all over the place, right? And I've
Yeah.
found that like nobody really fucking knows, at least from the research that I've done. And
Right.
and okay, Harvard supposedly has the best, some of the best sleep, study research physicians on the planet. And then like I've read a lot of their, because I've like, to me, the ultimate hack would be to figure out how to just minimize the amount of sleep I need to get. So I went down
Right.
some deep rabbit holes on this, but yeah, I found, okay, like, dude, just test and see what's the amount that you need to go out there and get your full performance out of the day. And it's going to be different for everybody.
Yeah.
But for me, like, okay, I feel really good off 6.5 to 7 is where I feel at my absolute best. Not always possible for me, but I actually don't feel any better on 8 than I do 6. So,
Yeah.
I figure out what that target window is for me, but it's going to like, okay, like I'll tell people like, well, do I need 8? Okay, then get 8. Yeah. Right. Like if you truly need it,
Sure.
I used
Yeah.
to need 8 when I would drink and eat like shit, but when I'm taking really good care of myself, I don't know if my body just sleeps better, or what, but
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that helps me too is, we have, it's at 9 o'clock. I'm in fucking bed, man. Lights are out 9 o'clock, you know, um, rarely can sleep till 7, it's usually 5 or 6. But I don't fall asleep at 9. I'm usually reading for an hour, but it's that calming down, it's a whole kind of hygiene, this whole system, right? 9 o'clock, lights out, laying in bed. There's no lights on, everything's dim, settling in. I read on a Kindle, which doesn't put up blue light, all this shit, and it seems to work. That's how it is. If I stay out late or, whatever, it affects it. It affects it.
yep.
And that's just kind of, and then I feel best if I get up in the morning and I get a chance to fucking go outside in my bare feet and walk around with my shirt off and stare at the sun for a little bit, 5 minutes, whatever, just doing bullshit outside. And that really makes my fucking day start great, when I can do it. But there's that whole kind of little system, but it's just trial and error. And those are the things that make me feel best.
Yeah. So those are kind of the foundational things, right? And then we have some hacks here. So when we get into hacks, dude, we'll go first into maybe some supplement hacks, and then I want to, maybe talk about some activity hacks. Again, to really just remove those distractions and increase our ability to go out there and focus. Because I found focus just like, if I want fucking biceps like Jim Brown, okay, like I got to fucking consistently train them. Well, I could train them every day for the rest of my life and they still wouldn't be Jim Brown, but you know what I mean? Like, okay, like this stuff just like a muscle, like it can be trained, it
Right.
can be conditioned, it can be developed, right? But dude, like my ultimate hack, okay, when I need that deep, insane focus, which is at least 8 hours a day. I'm typically gonna be, I work 12-hour days, but I'm up 18 hours. So still getting the workout and family time. But of that 8 hours, I usually need fucking deep focus, right? So, like my ultimate hack, dude, is, so I'll pop 2. So I'll take these. So this is our nootropic. So I'll do, like as soon as I get in the office, usually about 30 minutes before I get in the office, because I find it takes about that 30 minutes for like to really kick in for me. And if I just take this, like, dude, I get, great results from it. But like the ultimate hack, again, if I want that fucking laser, like super focus or superpower focus, dude, is a serving of this, one fucking strong cup of just black coffee, and I make that at home. And then piece of Nicorette gum.
Yep.
Dude, that is just like, I am such in a deep, crazy, intense, insane focus that'll last me about 4 or 5 hours, and then if I need, like I said, if I need 8 hours, which is most days, then I just repeat that process.
Yeah.
And it is just, it's like all the things that we talked about get me to where a point where I'm optimized. But then if I want to go beyond that and just have that, deep projects, deep whatever, where it's just like, you just need to be in just that zone go mode, like that's my ultimate stack.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how we made it, right? We made it so that you can add um, how much caffeine you want, either none or however much you want. The two things that we have in there for energy don't interfere with caffeine. They don't work on the same receptors. They don't attenuate, so you don't build a tolerance to them. But more than that, the other ingredients that we have in there, I rarely take 5 capsules. That's a serving size, and that, dude, that with a cup of coffee or any kind of caffeine, it's almost too much, right? I mean, that's like pre-workout level. I have to go and do something. It's hard for me to sit down and try to do something with that. For me, I mean, on a day-to-day basis, especially if I'm doing a long drive and I got to do a presentation or something like that, one or two of those, man, with some caffeine, change my day. It really does. And then if it's a long afternoon, I won't hit caffeine. I try not to hit caffeine past 12, but so I'll do like a Diet Coke or something like that with another one of those. And it's amazing. But the rhodiola and the bacopa in there they, those two herbs have been selected and put there for a reason. And they have astounding effects on your cognitive ability. They really do. And, we put a pretty strong dose in there, and it works. But yeah, I'm with you. The nicotine I don't throw in as often as you do, but yeah, certainly when you add that, there's a lot there.
Yeah, dude, everybody's got different tolerance levels, with this
Yeah.
stuff, and probably because, dude, like I know that you recommend, our clients to take, like 5 days on, 2 days off. So most people are going to take it Monday through Friday. To me, dude, I'm 7 days a
You're
week and have
always
been
on.
for 3. So
Yeah.
I probably also built up, I don't know if you can build a tolerance to it or not, because it's not like I need 20 pills now versus the
Not on paper, but you might. But I always try to, like I try to take days off of caffeine too, or have days where I have low amounts of caffeine to keep my tolerance down. But the ingredients in our nootropic don't attenuate. You don't build a tolerance to. But yeah,
yeah.
I always still like to have days off.
But it's funny because my mom's like you, dude. She'll take 3 pills because my mom, takes it because
Yeah,
she, is the age that, that, it's like we need more focus and again, memory. And but she's like, she'll pop 3 pills and she'll like fucking be like, yeah, I just fucking clean the house,
I
vacuum for
clean.
like 5 hours, just like she can't sit still, like it just I thought,
Yeah,
just like almost half a dose. She's just
yeah.
I have found that because I've tried taking 2 doses at once. And I found that, okay, if you take too much of it, that can kind of have a counter.
Your
And
fucking
this is
ears are
why
ringing, and
you always recommend, when like, okay, maybe don't start with a full dose, start with
yeah.
that 2 or 3. Because if you overstimulate, that can almost have the negative, you know, um, almost a
Just so
crash in a
you,
different
yeah.
way.
And people, we did not go cheap on ingredients. We did not go cheap on some half dose. So when you take 5 of those, you're getting full dose of every single ingredient in there that you would want on your own, and it's a lot. So
Yeah.
don't take 5 your first time.
Yeah. So if you guys want those, forgelife.com, Forge, Forj, Life, Life. We're talking about Zone, which is our nootropic. So we also have an eye care formula in there too that can also help with focus, all of that stuff too. All right, dude. So then from there, and we kind of talked about this earlier, but as far as hacks to again, develop this focus, develop this, and it's all kind of simple shit. I did it's at least for me, and then whatever you want to share that works for you. But I found that, dude, it's okay. Let me just have awareness of what's creating these distractions, right? Let me also have mental exercises. Like this is why we both are readers, and certain things where like I'm forcing myself to have to flex that muscle of concentration, flex that muscle of long spurts of focus. So I'm not like the average human being that has the attention span of less than a goldfish, right? But then I also, so okay, I'm intentional with that. Then from there, I have awareness of anything that is blocking my attention, anything that's creating distractions, and I just rig my environment to win. So I just make sure, especially like with work where I need to focus the most, I just remove and eliminate that shit. So, okay, like when I'm working, like in here right now, no, not everybody can do this, but dude, my fucking cell phone is on silent and it's put into an office drawer. So it's not even around my vicinity here to get distracted by it. Yeah, right. Like I remove all the notifications off of all my devices. So then, like, okay, like when I get an email, I don't get an alert. Like my wife's got one of those smartphone or the like Apple watches,
Oh
and so
God.
I'm like,
Yeah.
how can you
What are you
stand that,
doing?
dude?
Yeah.
Now for her, with kids and alerts from
Sure.
school, and she has her, but with the volume of emails and texts I get, I'm like, dude, I would freaking put a bullet in my head. Like that would just be too much. I know I would just it fuck me up mentally. So having that awareness, taking those mental bouts, just removing the things that are blocking you, and then again, it's like, okay, there's so much data, like we know and understand a lot of these things. Okay, like this long COVID is maybe getting a lot of blame for this, and maybe that truly is one of the main core reasons. But then also, it's like, dude, like, okay, well, all this short form vertical content like we talked about earlier, like all this shit that is, like, okay, like people today have lost the ability to go out there and critically think. Like you go on social media, it's just a bunch of fucking people telling you what to think. And most people are crafting opinions by what other people are telling them to think. They actually aren't even crafting their own, like they don't take the time to think,
Right.
right? So it's like, okay, are you blocking off 60 minutes to 90 minutes a day of just thinking time where you can brain dump and really think and plan and strategize? Are you blocking yourself? Like I have a very hard rule, dude. Like I don't, yeah, I mean, I have a TikTok account. Yeah, I have a YouTube account. Like I'm creating short form vertical content, but do I consume it? Absolutely not. Right.
Yeah.
Like because I understand the negativity that's going to bring in. It's like the same reason I don't freaking shoot up heroin or smoke crack,
Right.
right? Like, okay, I know that's going to have a negative implication on me. So why would I do it in the first place?
Yeah. I'm the same, man. I can't, with the calls and all this during I don't answer my phone, not because I don't want to help my customers or whoever's calling me, but I can't. When I get to you though, if you write me an email or a text or whatever it is, when I get to you, you will have my full focus and I'll solve that problem. Then I'll move on to the other one. But if I run around and trying to do all these things, then you're going to get a half-ass answer out of me. You're going to get a half-ass response, or I'm just going to respond without actually thinking, okay, how do I fix this? Or why are you're emailing me or you're contacting me with an issue or with this or with that or a question. Am I just giving you a junk response to get, to respond? Or am I going, okay, how do I fix this? All right, well, I have to do this and this. Okay, I have to do, and so for me, I really I try to take the time and do one thing at a time, solve one thing at a time. And one of the things that I think really helps is reading. I read every night. It's fiction or whatever, kind of, just I don't know, fantasy books or whatever it is. But man, people don't read anymore. Like, sit down and read a book, one subject for an hour without looking at 18 different things on your phone. Um, I think it's important to read, man. It could be anything, but it's important to read for 30, 40, 60 minutes at a time. And that's the only thing you're doing. I think that helps me a lot.
Yeah. And also little shit. You kind of talked about this earlier, like, okay, like it's not taking place anymore because people aren't going out to eat or whatever. But like, okay, like conversations. Like
Yeah.
one of the reasons why I love doing podcasts, dude, is it's almost like forced meditation. Because like we do these all unscripted. I'm having because like with the realtor interviews that I do. Okay, like I
Yeah.
have certain days where I'll just have back to back to back to back. Where it's just like, okay, I have 8 hours where I have to be fully engaged, fully focused in that conversation, right? Because with them being unscripted, every question comes off of the topic. So I have to be fully focused and engaged. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
But so if you're having more just sit down conversations with people, we're actually engaging and listening. I mean, all of those things just enhance that focus, but
Yeah.
people can't converse anymore, dude.
It's crazy, man. I know.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yep.
I think you said focus is the new superpower, and so is, communication, face-to-face communication.
Yep.
It's a lost, diminishing art. And if you can master it and practice it, superpower.
Yep. Yep, 100%. Especially in well, like you, me, and pretty much all of our watchers, listeners of the podcast is winning the sales industry, dude.
Yeah.
Like, dude, your ability to go out there and communicate, your ability to identify problems, right, and identify what's the concerns and issues creating that core problem. Yeah, right. You can identify with the pain and pleasure that people are experiencing, and then articulate how you have the best solution to get from the pain to that pleasure. Yeah, right. I mean, that's what sales is all about. But people, dude, they can't even have the focus to even have those conversations, right? Or everybody's trying to go out there. I just having a conversation right before I jumped on you of somebody talking about this new AI app that's coming out in our industry where, essentially it's going to record your voice for you, like 11 Labs does essentially, but then it's going to, take over your calls for you. And I'm like, look, dude, we're
Jesus.
in an extremely high ticket, the highest ticket item that most human beings will ever buy and sell in their lifetime. This was my conversation with this, realtor friend of mine. And I'm like, look, dude, that AI, I mean, it may in decades from now, but right now does not have the skill set to be able to identify true core, objections, when objections are just concerns, and then be able to navigate through those. So I'm like, now I know our industry will jump on those things, but again, I look at
Right.
this as again that superpower of, okay, let them go jump on the shiny penny. It's gonna
Yep.
fuck their conversions, right, and it's going to cause more people. Like, look at how many people now don't even know how to write an email or write a Facebook ad because they just go into Chat GPT. But then everything looks the same, everything sounds the same. Those are going to be less and less ineffective,
Yeah.
versus And I'm not saying I don't use those tools, but I use
Sure.
them. I already have enough copywriting experience where, okay, I'm gonna use those to enhance maybe the copy and make some additions to it or tweaks to it. Maybe, so
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I don't leverage those a little bit, but for what we do, man, like those communication skills, sales skills, dude, is like, I guess where I'm going with this is gonna be like fishing with dynamite for those of us that,
Yeah.
gather that focus, like you said, gather those communication skills and master these skill sets.
Yeah. I agree, man. And, the core behind that is the ability to function mentally at some given level. And I really like that, man. Focus is a new superpower. It really is.
Yep. Yep. And if you guys really want to go to the extreme, this is one of the best things that I did. And it was difficult for several reasons. But I know, understand that not everybody can do this, right? So you got to be responsible with it. Like, I'm in a situation with my businesses where I have phone calls being answered, emails being responded to, so I was in a position where I could do it. But I went away from my smartphone and went back to a dumb flip, they call them dumb phones, the old school flip phones, for 6 months, just to force myself to break any bad habits or any addictions that I had to that. And I ended up going, I went back to it because it's kind of hard to
Yeah.
operate life today. Like, yeah, I'd be traveling, like I can't get an
Right.
Uber, and I'm trying to explain to the hotel
And
bell
to load
people that,
maps.
right. I'm like,
Yeah.
put me in some tough spots, right. During that 6 month span of time. So, wouldn't be a forever thing that I, would want to do, but man, it was such an eye opener, dude, of how these things have creeped up on us. But even though I went back and I've been back now for like 2 years, I still don't have those bad habits I was able to break from that, and that
Yeah.
addiction that I had to it. Like, it's all been, I've been able to continue, like not readopt those habits back. Dude,
Yeah.
it's such a fucking powerful eye opener, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. If I could, I would.
Yep.
That'd be awesome. Someday.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, anything we're missing? Any last things that you want to bring up or talk about before we wrap this bad boy up?
No, man, I think we covered it. A lot of people that we know, the ADH thing, You know, do people really have ADHD, or are they just lost the ability to function? Due to all these bad habits that we just went over. And you and I both know that Adderall, man, it's a one-way street, and the way that that ends is not good. It's just not. Some people are functionable on it and functioning on it, but the people who I know have been on it long term, it's just never right again. It's
Yeah, it fucks up your dopamine levels so bad.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
So it's yeah, and you don't necessarily know and realize it until you come off of it.
Or try to come off of it.
Yeah, or try
Yeah,
to come off of it, and then you
yeah,
fucking feel like a zombie for, I mean, at least for me, it was months, dude. Like it took months for that shit to reset, right? Because it's, your body secrete, you got your baseline of dopamine that your body, I know that you know this, but just for those watching, listen, you got your baseline of dopamine that your body secretes. Okay. Then when you have artificial dopamines, things that spike it artificially, so like, okay, food, like chocolate, let's just say that spikes it 250 basis points above the midline. Yeah. Right. Or like, sex or gambling or whatever might, spike it to, 500. Well, things like, Adderall might spike that 1,000 up, right? 1,000, basis points up. Well, then from there, it's not like when that artificial spike is done, it comes back to baseline, right? It actually goes below baseline to the equivalent opposite, right? So
yeah,
it's what's the saying, one of Newton's laws, like every action has an equal and opposite reaction, right? So then now, so you got this euphoric, amazing feeling, but then when you come up, bam, you feel like shit. But here's what happens is with your natural baseline, and this is what, like, video games, social media, it's all these artificial spikes. I mean, like social media and supposedly gambling has a bigger spike than even sex would on dopamine levels, right? So, but then when these are artificially spiked for long periods of time, well, then it starts to lower your baseline. So then even when you come back to baseline, your baseline's so lowered, and it can take a long fucking time. And maybe, luckily I only was on Adderall for a couple of years, but people that
yeah,
have been on it for decades, like, I don't
yeah.
know if they'll ever be able to get back to baseline.
I don't think so. I mean, the people that I know have tried, it's
Yeah.
unsuccessful. So,
Yeah. And that shit took me, dude, months. I just felt like
oh, even
a
even
zombie.
with being on phentermine, which is the diet version of it, it's basically all the same shit. Yeah, if I'm on that for 6-8 weeks, I get mentally weird, and then the withdrawal from that is bad. I'm 2 days where I'm laying, I'm on the couch, can't move for 2 days, and
Yeah.
then it takes quite a while to get back to where I was mentally, and that's not even as powerful as Adderall. But
Yeah.
all those things, any of the amphetamine medications are just a slippery slope, man.
Yeah. And I guess I don't know if this is a fact or not, but I heard from a friend of mine he's a pretty knowledgeable motherfucker. So, I'll take him at his word, but he's like, dude, Adderall is one chemical away from being meth.
Yeah, I mean, it's all, yeah,
Yeah.
they're all
He's like,
amphetamines. Yeah,
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
all
So,
amphetamines. Yeah,
and okay, is all the shit we talked about today a hell of a lot more work than just fucking popping a quick Adderall pill? Yeah.
yeah,
But all of this has positive net benefits, not negative net benefits. And I'll be upfront honest. Like, do I get the same crazy intense focus that I had with Adderall? Not quite the same.
yeah.
I can get it close, but not quite the same.
Well, when you first started on it, but at the end of your road, when you were having to take more and more, was it the same?
Yeah, I mean, it
Were you
starts to
able
change,
to?
right? Yeah, because there's also a direct correlation of, like, when you take it and what the activities that you're taking it more around, then
Yeah,
those things, yeah, it can wane with those. But yeah, I know, to your point, yeah, you do, like, at least for me, it developed tolerance where it's like, okay, 10 milligrams and 20 milligrams
yeah.
and 30 milligrams, and fucking by the
And
end of it, I was like
you're
popping
fucking
90
snorting it.
milligrams,
Yeah, right.
but then from there again, when that coming off stage, or even taking a
Yeah,
day off, it was like fucking zombie land, dude. And
right.
and there's other things too, like, for me, like, I had a couple bouts where, because, like, when somebody goes schizophrenic, they have, like, just their dopamine levels are off the charts. Like, it has no filter. So one of the things that they give schizophrenics is dopamine blockers, which I can't even imagine how shitty that must feel altogether.
Yeah.
But I had a couple bouts, and it's weird because I could feel it going. Like I had awareness that it was taking place, but so it was like awareness, but it was like the bout of schizophrenia, dude, where it's like, just weird shit, right? Where it was just like one time I'm watching this, like YouTube video, and the captions, like the words were changing, actually like speaking to me. And it had
Well,
nothing to
dude,
do with what the video was about. I'm like, what the fuck is
when
going on? And then I'm
you're
like,
popping Adderall and up for 3 days, weird shit happens.
oh, wait a minute. Like, so, there's just some, negative
Wow.
shit where it's just like, dude,
Yeah.
like this isn't, and I know doctors will prescribe it to you all day long and you think it's healthy,
It's easy to get.
and
Yeah.
whatever. I'm not saying like we're just two dudes talking shit on the internet. Do what you want to do, talk to your doctor. And then there's probably maybe situations where it's good and needed. And
Sure.
who knows? I don't
100%.
know. But,
Right.
For me, if I can find healthy, effective alternatives that just improve every element of my life, okay, I'm going to go that path.
Well, I think it's more sustainable, man. I don't have to get off of drinking water in the morning. I don't have to, wean myself off of the 2 cups of coffee I drink a day. They're not having a detrimental effect. They're not having, it's different, man. If you need it or whatever, you need it. But if you're guys like us that can do these things and fix it rather than, take it for 6 months and then try to deal with going off of it, man, I don't know if it's worth it.
Yep,
But
100%.
yeah.
All right, you guys. Well, again, forgelife.com, forjlife.com. Go snag that nootropic. Let us know what you think. Truly appreciate you guys watching and listening, and we will see you next time. Peace.